Hey everybody, welcome to episode 142 of the Bonehead Podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. And jingle. Welcome back. I'm Ben, and once again I'm joined by Blood Tithe Ben. BT, how you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing very well, thank you.
Do we bring up the highlight of your day yet, or do we circle back round to it?
It's fine. It's a lovely chat with people at the door. You can infer.
And we're also joined by TO extraordinaire Ian Triple Power Triple O. Trips. How are you?
I'm very good today, thank you.
Yeah, you're not on the road, not travelling today, then, Trips. I feel like
No, got the joy of proper working from a comfortable desk and chair today.
we were just saying that Secret Lair, they've done their ultramarine chair now, haven't they? Secret Lab.
Secret Lab.
And
Yeah.
sorry, Secret Lair is Magic the Gathering. And we were saying
Not
they should do like a Reclad Reavers one, or Gouged
Oh.
Eye or something.
Reach out. They seem to sponsor everyone, so you never know.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I do need a new chair, although I do like my leather captain's chair. It makes me feel very, very Picard. And I was very happy because I was on a work team day yesterday, which was all the value in the world. And I did get to bring up the Picard, my favorite Picard quote, to somebody in my team, and I was who actually is a Star Trek fan, and I was like, yes, but remember, the wise man said this, and he was like, that's Picard, and I was like, yes, and he's right. He was like, yes, he is right. You're right. I was like, exactly. We should all listen to Picard, unless he's advising you on things to do with Romulans. But anyway, probably not going to be happening. Right, what are we talking about today, BT?
We just got some Blood Bowl news. I was quite shocked to see this because I'm just racking my mind thinking, what Blood Bowl news?
Yeah, well, we're in
excited.
a wonderful little hiatus, I think, in the realm of Blood Bowl, where there's no Games Workshop releases. But because of the way we've shuffled everything around recently, we haven't really been doing the Blood Bowl news segments. And I thought, actually, what we could do is we could do with a catch-up of everything that's been going on in Blood Bowl over the last month. Especially because there's been a bunch of teams that have dropped, or Kickstarters that have dropped, or things that are actually really worth doing. And I want to get back into doing this regularly. So, because I just, Games Workshop maybe not be releasing stuff or doing much at the moment because they're pent up with other stuff. But there's still stuff going on in the Blood Bowl world. So yes, it's going to be a casual Blood Bowl conversation today. So first things first, Games Workshop. So I went back and had a look at the news page, and then I scrolled down the news page, and then I scrolled back to May in the news page. And really, there's not a huge amount going on in the way of Games Workshop at the moment because they're relaunching AOS and Trips. You chucked something in one of our group chats earlier about the release date for that. So you think basically Games Workshop releases are locked up for a little while?
Yeah, so that's confirmed pre-order on the 29th and in stores on the 13th of July. And I think just for the fun of it, there's a huge tournament 4 days later for everyone who's manically read the rules and assembled their models.
That is correct, isn't it? Which I think is, I mean, BT, you've played AOS, you've played 40k. Having a tournament less than a week after a new edition of any game releases, that seems
So ambitious.
Is that not a bold strategy, Cotton?
Yeah, I didn't know are they even all getting rules on release?
I think they're doing an index thing, aren't they?
Oh, are they? Okay, I was gonna say like, yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to if that's the case. Otherwise, it's just enjoy your Stormcast and Skaven.
Yeah, that would be a heck of a tournament. I don't know. I mean, I guess the narrative one's kind of like Horus Heresy, and there's only really one army in that. So, I suppose technically there's two because there's a Solar Auxilia, but I don't think anybody really runs them. Because it's like, hey, do you want to play Imperial Guard but pay more than a Space Marine for them? We've got an army for you. Yeah. Interesting angle there. So no, but the one very exciting release, the Necromunda Spira stuff that we did talk about, that Trips, we kind of if AOS is going to be taking up that chunk of release, just as a little bit of like an exciting thing from Games Workshop that is coming out at the moment. Well, we've got like 1 week to go.
Yeah, if it's not in this week's preview on Sunday, we've got to wait till the middle of July, which is potentially disappointing because
Oh.
I feel the need to look at terrain that's clearly been sat on.
Yeah, I did joke. I was like, I can't wait for the STLs for these to come out, and you were like, just print failures will do it. Oh, it's really weird though. Like there is an inherent excitement to new releases, no matter what system it is, and I think it goes back to that kind of like angle. And I think we've talked about this before, Ben. Like the angle of like, are you a wargamer or do you just like the idea of being one?
Oh yeah, God, it's so true. Like we had this conversation with MMOs, right? I think both me and Milton agreed on this, where the idea of playing an MMO and chasing that dragon you had growing up was like, or the memory that you might have had growing up, is just so much more fun than actually doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case with a lot of wargaming. It's
Eh.
just you can have a whole army. Oh my God, that's amazing! You can play your army against your friends, and then it's like, okay, now you got to arrange that. You've got to be free. You've got to buy the models. You've got to build them. You've got to paint them. You've got to do all this admin that might not necessarily be fun for people.
I think
And then you play the game, and the game sucks.
It's the idea of it, isn't it? It's like, oh my God, we could have this great
Yeah.
battle. This is why Blood Bowl is just so infinitely good. I think is the setup. Not, I don't mean the actual monetary setup cost, because every game has got, you could spend as much or as little as you like, I think. But the I guess the emotional setup cost of Blood Bowl is significantly less. Like, get a team, and then a cardboard pitch, and then we put the pitch down, and then we put the team down, and then you're kind of good to go, which I think is probably why I love it so much, because you don't have this brew up. Like me and Craig were like, oh, let's play some Old World, and I was like, yes, but we're all going to need about 6 to 9 months to actually get an army together so that we can play, and then we need some terrain, and then we need to read the rules. So I was like, that is big. Do you want to just come play sevens? And then, what, on Tuesday we played some sevens or whatever. And it was like, oh, it's much easier.
Yeah, it's a lot less buy-in.
But the thing is, like with Necromunda trips, I think the juice to it is the buy-in. It's that terrain element. It's like
every box set that they've released for Munda has been a bit of a must buy because it comes with a load of nice terrain, and it's all very interchangeable with other space-related games. But it flows really nicely in detail. This does look like it's GUI prints, which is hilarious.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna be fun doing it. And the best thing about Munda stuff is you just paint it up a bit, and then you just drown it in rust.
Or Agrax, which I'm a huge fan of. In fact, going offside a little bit, drowning in Agrax is my next job for the pitch. So Trips printed the pitch pieces for our stadium. I finally got a chance to glue them down and texture them and brown them, and now I need to go back to what I used to do with the old dungeons. Get a little spray bottle and some Agrax.
Oh yeah.
And just go across
really
it,
well, doesn't it?
and it just shades it. Give it a dry brush, and then I can go to town with various flocks, and then we're there to go. So the aim for the pitch is ready for round 2 of the championship. So a couple of weeks, which is I think probably going to be fine. And then the stadium in the background will start to appear, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, you cannot beat a good old spritz of Agrax.
I want to say Drowning in Agrax is a phenomenal band name as well.
Yeah, probably IP wrecked though.
Maybe.
You might have to chuck in a second X or 2 Gs or something.
Managed, isn't it?
Yeah, but those are generic words.
I guess, but the art is all John Blanche.
And they were also licensed by Games Workshop. So
yeah,
like the record label was
true,
actually Games Workshop, and one of their EPs was given away with an issue of White Dwarf, which from an era that I'm not a part of. That was a little bit before my time. Right. In the world of Blood Bowl, however, Games Workshop may have no releases at the moment. I'm expecting a team later this year, hopefully, but I don't know. we never know with Games Workshop and their process, but there is a couple of companies out there that I think are making some outrageously phenomenal teams. Now, Brute Fun's been quiet for a few months because he has sequestered himself away in the Northern Wastes, and he's sculpted nearly 4 teams. And the first one of them has been completed and released now, which is the Dark Elf team. And I think that I unapologetically, I'm a big fan of Brute Fun's work. However, I do genuinely think this is the best Dark Elf team I have seen ever.
Yes.
Trips, I consider you the Dark Elf guy of the team. I mean, I want you to weigh in here.
I mean, they're lovely miniatures. They portray everything that Dark Elves should do, which is there's athleticism, there's a bit of spite. They look like they should be having some kind of purpley dark color on them. There's the knives on them. I mean, they are the epitome of a Dark Elf team. And I love the blitzers with the helmets. They just look really proper mean, because Dark Elves are all about how you can blodge up the blitzers. So yeah, this team is definitely going to be needing to fail dodges with me in the not too distant future.
So we've been seeing a bit of a trend recently when it comes to STL teams where, no, not just STL teams, but for third-party teams, and Ben, I know this impacts you the most, is they either seem to be going a ton of detail or kind of optimized for speed painting. And Punga's recent releases, I feel like have been bolder, smoother areas, which kind of take speed painting. Brute Fun seems to straddle that line, but this Dark Elf team, I feel like, is a very good middle ground where there's plenty of texture. So for you as a professional painter, like, I look at this and I'm like, okie dokie, we give that a spray, we give that contrast in a dark color, we give it a bit of a dry brush, we pick out a few areas, like the faceplate needs to be gold and there's a couple of extra bits, and I'm good to go. As a pro painter, how much feared is this, like, on the fear scale? Is this Punga Orcs on the one hand side or Grebo Chaos on the other?
I think you're right. It's in the middle. It's the same. It's where GW models lie, because there is a strong design similarity between Brute Fun and GW. Like a lot of people say, and I kind of agree. Like Brute Fun designs the teams you wish GW made, as in like there's like variation and like all the models are unique. They're really like animated. They're just super full of character, which GW does. It's just that they're obviously duplicates. But these are like really, they're just really good. These line people here you've got on screen.
Those are runners.
They're the ones that scare me a little. Yeah, the runners. Sorry, these scare me a little bit just with the texture, but that's only because the way I paint is like airbrushy, and that doesn't take too well to that. So you have to sort of
yeah, the two runners have got sea dragon cloaks, but all the line people are flesh, fabric, and sharp, spiky armor.
Oh, the abs are a dream. Love them. I love painting me
as
some
a
abs.
corn player, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like tiny Conans.
Yeah, it really looks really good. Like I would thoroughly enjoy painting this. I need to put it on the store actually.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I've got one of the dudes didn't succeed with the prints. Mr. Kick. His right leg was missing, so I've got to resupport that. But otherwise, the whole team is supported and printed, and I boosted up the scale to 105 so that it matches up nicely with your Marauders, actually, Ben, because they were the first team. I went and grabbed a Core Marauder and put it next to a Dark Elf, and 100% they're a bit small, so I boosted them up to 105, and I think Brute Fun's going to take that for his next team.
The corn guys are a little bit big anyway, but I think elves should be a bit taller anyway.
Your elves need to be, you don't want them to be diminutive, especially dark elves, because like Trip says, they want to be combaty and imposing. Wood elves, you can have them smaller, especially the catchers, like that's absolutely fine. Talking of wood elves, Games Workshop did release a star player recently. Actually, that's not fair. I don't know if he's been released or not. But was it Jordell?
Yeah, Fresh Breeze or something.
Yeah, it was Jordell. I couldn't remember which of the players it was. So Jordell's been released, but Bruty has snuck in a Jordell star player here, and also old Kraken Face as well. Now, I'm a big fan of the Ogni one, but again, this just absolutely crushes. This is unnecessarily good.
really well inspired by the Blood Bowl 3 art for Record, not that one. He looks exactly like the card in the game.
This is
it's so good.
This is so good. We are properly spoiled in Blood Bowl when you've got this amount of choice and this amount of quality. Anyway, that's the news from Brute Fun. Is the Dark Elf team's out. You've got a couple of star players. He's working on Elven Union now for this month, next month, and then we've got, I think he said, 2 months of Snotlings, or Runts, I think, as he's calling them, to not get sued. And I've requested somebody with a trumpet. Because of trumpets from the Snotling team, because I sort of said to him, I was like, look, if you're going to make a Snotling team, we're probably going to have it, we're probably going to have to use it, and therefore we are going to need trumpets to be represented appropriately. So yeah, cool. So first up, we've got Brute Fun. I do love the assassins as well. Like, this is the really fun thing about third party teams is, you know, Games Workshop, you pick up a team box, then you either have to pick up the big guy for the team, or you have to pick up some accessories. So when it comes to the Dark Elves, the Assassins trips, now in this, you know, where they've been since 2016, they've got an extra point of movement. They can be really effective once you've got dodge, but them being resin makes them a little bit prohibitive, doesn't it?
Yeah, they've always been not optimal. They've not been in the starting roster. They've always been in the fun version, and often you haven't upgraded to them. These models, I mean, when I look at that, I think quite a cyberpunky look to it in a way.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
the model's so nice, it makes me go, yeah, quite fancy having an assassin in the lineup just to see the model on. They look like how a Dark Elf assassin should really look.
Oh yeah, Bruty's done a good job with those. Even the linemen are fantastic. They do harken back to like the 3rd edition stuff, which I'm a really big fan of. Like, he's done a good job of just
very D&D.
Yeah, well, Drow, isn't it?
Very Drow, yeah.
It's a bit of a shame there's no half spider people. That would be quite cool. What are the spider people called, Ben?
What, in D&D?
Yeah, that buddy up with the Drow.
Yeah, you put me on the spot now. Can't remember.
Driders, that's what they're called.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I've remembered the Driders. It's not a very creative name at all, is it?
No, it's not.
No. But
Dryad,
the next bit of news and the next bit I wanted to get your feedback on is Weir Games. Now, Weir Games sent us a team. I got it based. I got it primed. Then we started the championship. Their Kickstarter's gone live, and I missed the window for the Kickstarter because it was, I think, only a week. But their Tomb Kings team is now up on their site, and they've done a really good job here of having some full examples of this team. I will still do a review because the way Weir Games works is that they've identified that people really hate waiting forever for their Kickstarters. Grebo have been doing a really good job of being like, hey, we're ready to go with this. Weir Games have kind of got to the point now where they do a Kickstarter when their teams are already ready to go. So it's a really cool way of doing it. But they've dropped a Tomb King team, and I mean, we've talked about the fact that there are several really good Tomb Kings out there. You've got the Punga team, which is very, very good, but very, very expensive. And then you've got the Realm of Paths team, which is a bit cartoony, but also really good. I think those are the top two. And now, Weir Games have entered the party with, I think, a really good middle ground here, with some very high quality casting. The way they produce the models is done really, really, really well. And I am a huge fan of their sculpts because they are a bit cartoony, and you can kind of see it in the face of the mummy there, in the face of all the mummies. Like, do you remember the Vortice team? That was very cartoony as well. I think Tomb King's trips, where they're so dry, they need that little cartoony element. Otherwise, you've just got a whole bunch of skull faces.
Yeah, these definitely look like painting them. You would go more the bright colours. You'd go the cartoony sort of Scooby-Doo look for them.
Yeah. The only thing all right, I'm a big fan of this team. All of the skeletons are really good. They've got a ton of character. One's playing golf with his head. One's dragging his arm around. One's taking his head off to throw. Done a really good job of that without making the faces too cartoony, but they've actually done a really good job, I think, of chucking in a bit of character in a skull, which is always very good. The throwers are interesting. Goldface is good. The bird face is interesting. But we've seen the Realm of Paths and we've seen Weir Games now both do the kind of cat blitzers. And I know that's kind of like Egyptian, but I don't know. It would be interesting to see somebody take it a different direction, but it's really difficult, I think, to differentiate a blitzer like from a skeleton. I mean, we've seen undead and stuff, haven't we? And actually, the blitzers, they could potentially in some teams blend in to the linemen, and I guess it's even worse when you've got a team like this where the motif of like that Egyptian thing is so strong. Ben, I mean, as a painter, is it better to have these kind of like, right, okay, we've got a blitzer that is definitely a blitzer, or what's your preference when it comes to this?
I think it's always good to make them stand out. Like that's why I like this more, because they do differentiate a bit. I'd rather this than just sort of a slightly beefier skeleton. So I just like it as something different and unique, and you can clearly identify it. Like that's the thing with all these players, is it's clear which are which. There's no doubting.
I love
help.
The Tomb Kings, the Tomb Guardians are fantastic. Like they are without shadow. I mean, I like the big guys in Blood Bowl because they're the most entertaining. Oh, there's the Reptile Warriors, the lizard team that you did a bloody good job with, Ben. The way again.
I did want to add on this Tomb King team though. This one does look hard to paint. Like there are a lot of little details on here.
Lots and lots of bandages with lots of edges.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I look at that and I'm like, right, that's a dry brush and a strong base color, and not worry about it too much. But you and I have very different standards. I love the mummies, in particular this one. Although the painted version doesn't quite show off. It's a very nice job with some nice OSL. Doesn't show off the cartoony mouth quite as well as the model does. This is going to be the one where you're like, oh, I don't know if I like this. It's a little less serious because he's got that weird screaming mummy face from the original Mummy movie, which apparently not that many people have seen, which is baffling. Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz. Bet you haven't seen it, have you, Ben?
There's people who haven't seen that.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's sad.
If BT's seen it, everyone should have seen it.
I agree with this one. I'm glad you haven't missed that one. That's a corker.
Oh yeah, I'm shocked you expected that I had. Like,
ooh, Amazon are here, which is good news. Libby's getting bored now, so I bought her like a 100-piece foam block set that I'm very convinced is going to be on my lounge floor for the next year. So that'll be good. That'll keep her entertained, which is very cool. Anyway, Wear Games have dropped this. They've got all the different positionals and some of the extras available to purchase as well. I will do a video review once I get the overhead camera set up in this point. I've been focusing all the camera work on the stream. All of that, just getting that up and running. And I think it's going really well. We'll talk about it in a bit, but I think that's good. So Wear Games dropped that as well. On to, hey, we talked about Punga. So let's talk about Punga some more. So guys, Blood Bowl have a new team. It is Gnomes. And we did chat about third-party teams, and eventually we'll look forward to seeing them. No one has done a Gnome clone, which I do like, because I actually think the Games Workshop Gnome team, they've executed it the best. They've done a really good job of creating a unique thing from a very generic theme. Like, the team is very unique, despite the fact that they are just fantasy gnomes with woodland creatures. They've done a really good job, I think, of making it their own. Now we're starting to see the third-party guys come out with their teams as well. And the first one I put up in here is the, I can't remember what they're called, the Garden Blinders. So Punga, known for their pirates, went chaos with their ogres, went chaos with their halflings, and then went Peaky Blinders.
Birmingham.
Brass Birmingham with their gnome team, which is really interesting. So this is all just like flat caps and grey waistcoats, which is a really interesting thing. Now, I actually don't mind it so much because, with the exception of the flat caps, which quite honestly, growing up in the New Forest, like that's just a farmer thing. Do you know what? You can pie this off. This is a farmer team of gnomes. And I think some of the sculpts here are absolutely wonderful. Like, you've got one of the Beastmasters is herding a giant turkey. The other one is riding around on a pig. And he comes with a little separate piglet. Like, it's not attached. It's just an extra little piglet model, which I thought was wicked. And you've got the illusionists there with the kind of wispy flames that you can do really nice paint jobs of. And then You've got the foxes. You've got one fox running off with sausages, one that very much looks like a panda, not panda, a trash panda, just kind of mooching off with the ball, and a whole bunch of people who genuinely look like you would bump into them in a farm in Ringwood. No, a pub in Ringwood, in the New Forest, which I just find absolutely exquisite. And
I love this team. This is like I've had a couple of mixed things on it, but I this is one of my favorite Punga teams. Like I find, especially to go for like a new theme, a sort of almost like a pop culture theme. Like I don't think it really is. It's as pop culture as, like you say, a farm.
it's
But it's
passable.
like
It's passable, right?
yeah, it's clearly obviously inspired with like sort of the gangs, but you've it just works so well as this team, and they look so much fun, and there's nothing inoffensive about this. It's just fantastic, and I don't think there's anything not to like in this.
No, I'm right there with you. That it does look like the stadium would be full of of Range Rovers, but yes. Let's skip on to the big guys. Now they dropped the big guys and the star players, which I mixed feelings about the trees. And I think this is also one of the things you'll get the feedback on. This lad on the right, where he's got his belly full of gold pieces and it's just a big scary face, I really like that tree. I think that is a very cool tree. If you want to have a bit of like lighting on the back of the mouth, or you can do some cool stuff with that tree. This one here with his little weird face is not the best tree, but and you know what? It's absolutely
Oh,
fine.
I kind of love him.
Yeah.
I really like him.
It's the Borak tree, that one, isn't it?
Well, you've got this. You've got a good differentiation between them, which Punga do really
I
well.
love what they've added here with the sign plate, because trees are so hard to get any kind of team logos and numbers on, because they need this. Do it on the other tree.
Games Workshop snuck it in there with the shield on the most recent gnome treatment, didn't they? Yeah, right. Well, so the two trees are there. The good thing about the gnome team is you can just pick the trees you want. Like Ugni, we'll come into in a second. They've got the mecha trees, but they've got the original trees from the Conquistador team, the OWA team, right? Which you painted up, Ben. We did one with a mustache, one without a mustache. Probably the best treeman kicking around, I think, for any team that needs two treemen. They're similar. You've got a differentiating point. I'm a big fan of those. I think the Flaming Chaos treeman from Punga is probably the best one. But they've also, I think, just straight up crushed it with the star players. So when the gnome team was released, we couldn't get hold of a Rodney Roach bait. I wanted to buy it. I just wanted to buy it, but I couldn't. So I gave up and I made that awful, awful thing on Hero Forge, which I think did a good job of tiding us over. But I do like the Forge World model. However, this is the absolute best alternative I've seen so far. The fish bucket is entirely separate, and do you know what? This is, I think, going to be the ubiquitous Rodney that we will see for halfling and gnome teams across the land. Like,
yeah, and I think you're right. Like the flat cap just works as like a neutral theme as well. He doesn't even have like a pirate hat or anything.
I think it's less bad than the gnome hats.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. He's just a little old fisherman.
He is
with a bow staff or a fishing
just
rod.
a,
The way he's holding it.
country stunty fisherman, which is what he is, but movement boosted as well. So we're going to need one of him, I'm assuming, for round 2 of the championship, Ben. So
I reckon. Depends if I'd destroy this team or not.
Oh yeah, foreshadowing. I need to pick up with Warhammer, actually. He's gone very quiet. I do hope the goblins are coming along nicely. And we've also got the deer star player, Roanna, not Rowana, Roanna, Forestfoot, which I don't know how popular Roanna's going to be, but I can see this model being used in a gnome team to represent sheepskin. Because I think, even though the Chaos sheepskin model that Punga do is fantastic, this is, I think, a really good representation of a stunty on a forest thing, and it will go really nicely with the Games Workshop gnome team. So I think these 2 star players, they just kind of snuck out in this release, are 2 of the most useful models that Punga have done all year. One, because fish bait went out of stock really quickly, and also £6 versus £26 is maths. And then Romana, they haven't even got close to previewing the model yet, have they, Trips? Have I missed a preview of Romana?
Don't think so. I think it's in the missing models that may take 9 months to arrive.
Do you know what? Is she the only one missing? Is she the only one outstanding at the moment?
But that they've talked about, yeah, I think so.
That's got rule. The only star player with rules that we don't have a model for. That's interesting. That's interesting. We need some more star players. Games Workshop just to upset stuff. So big fan of the Punga stuff, and it's good to see. Like, if you want a gnome team, you don't have to just go the Games Workshop route. I do like the Games Workshop team. I know it was fiddly to build to the point where I haven't bothered building mine yet. Obviously you've painted up one for the channel, Ben, but I think when I do go a gnome team, because I'll probably like brew one up for 7s or something, just because I love having a little gnome team. The Garden Blinders will probably be the way I go for it, because it's Punga, they paint up very easily, so I think that's one of the benefits of them. Oh, there he is, good old Rodney Roachbait.
Yeah, I've got a couple of orders for Rodney, like speculative orders to be like for brush ties, just like when he comes in stock. I have one. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know when that's going to be yet, but this I might offer this Punga one. It's just like it depends if you want this, I can do this now. So yeah,
do
we'll
it.
see.
The Punga team is really nice. And the other kind of mainstream gnome team that we've got kicking about is why do they do this? Control W, there we go, is the steampunk themed gnome team from Ugni. Now, I think I talked about this on Top 5 Friday. They've gone a very different route here, and it is very like, it's just steampunk, aetherpunk kind of gnomes. So you've got the classic gnome stuff, but it's just all goggles, all steam cogs and things, and the 2 mech trees are absolutely wicked. Like, all kinds of unnecessary, but just super cool models. Trips, we've done a lot with the Secret League teams, right? And they've got a gnome, not a gnome illusionist team, but they've got like a gnome mechanic team on there, haven't they?
A gnome team with like a mechanic in there, that would work really well. The other thing, this team, you could stretch it to a dwarf team as well pretty quickly.
Oh, actually, yeah. Are you thinking like in the old ways of crossed legs, or can't remember what it's called? The leprechaun team.
Absolutely, yeah.
Crossed lances.
This is a team where they've got the logo, and then they've really gone hard for the theme around it. And I think there's a really strong theme all the way through the team, and it's one of those you're gonna like it or not like it. I don't think there's going to be a lot in the middle.
Yeah, it's not my style, but I think the thing is with Ugni is they do such good teams that sometimes the theme of the team doesn't really vibe with you, but you look at the models and you could basically take any single one of them, have a really good time painting it and using it in an RPG.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think this is definitely one of those teams where you're like, cool, I'm going to be running a steampunk gnome. Okay, cool. Here's 30. Pick one. And they've dropped part 2 as well, which I'm going to be honest with you. Whoa, that didn't work, did it? Okay, open image in new tab. Oh, that's weird. What are you doing that for? There we go. There we go. They're June releases, which I don't think I've got to the printer yet. They have gone with 2 versions of Romana, one as a unicorn, one not as a unicorn, and they've got, I think, a very creative version of their Fisherman Star Player, where he's got a bazooka that he's either got a grappling hook, a ball, or a hand on the end of it, which is just wildly unnecessary, but also, I think, a very creative way of doing this, like, just their own way, which you've got to respect, right?
Yeah. No, I respect this a lot. I love the idea that you could have the hand on it and then magnetize it. So that when he picks up the ball,
you just swap it out.
Like, you just remove it and swap it for the ball.
Oh, that's superb. I haven't even considered that. Do you know what? As these guys do more and more of like the accessory packs, I'm starting to like the accessory packs even more than the main team release. because you just get, I think they get to flex and be a bit more creative. So we see it from Punga, we see it from these guys. Now, they've also snuck a little ogre star player in there, which is very old school looking. Which is interesting. Might have to print that guy up.
That is just Morg, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a very flat Morg. Like, that looks like you could cast him in metal and sell him.
It looks good. I quite like it. That looks like a really good Morg model, to be fair.
Yeah, you'd want to see the size of him because you may want to do him at 110% looking at the render there.
Always.
Yeah, I don't think there's an upper limit on Morg, is there?
Yes.
So, I did see a big bit of discourse about this on the Facebook, on the Blood Bowl Facebook group, which is there is a bit of art in the gnome spike where you've got exactly this scene in the book, and Ugni has just sculpted the exact scene of the hedgehog, the grumpy hare, the fox with a flag, the bird signaling, the gnome, the worm coming out of the box of popcorn, and he's sculpted it in total. And it's quite like it was an interesting thread because they're sort of saying, like, you know, some of the 3D printing stuff is just literally a clone of the Games Workshop stuff, which I think we've moved away from almost wholemeal. Like, some of the first teams of each of these companies were very, very similar to the Games Workshop ones, because you don't want to go too far. But now they've kind of got into their own themes and their own styles. Like, Bruty has definitely gone with, like, I'm going to make the best Blood Bowl themed Blood Bowl out there that's based on Blood Bowl, which fine, it's not a clone of the Games Workshop ones, you know. This is literally a 3D rendering of the art piece, Ben. Now, I know you're very much art is art. How do you feel about that one? Is that plagiarism that we need to worry about, or is it fine because it's gone from a 2D picture to a 3D sculpt?
It's reimagined. I don't really see too much of a fuss about this. I think it's worse that GW don't credit the artist in the book than Ugni making a 3D version of the art. I think it's clearly inspired in a. It's like people don't really complain when music artists sample songs in new songs, but like that's clear, like taking something into something, like they've manipulated it in a good way, but like they've done more copy pasting than this, because this is a complete new like they've had to sculpt this from scratch in a way to inspire art, and I think it's awesome. Like, how many sculpts out there exist based on artwork? Like, you see Golden Demon entries of people making dioramas based on GW art, and like I think the only time there's a grey line introduced here
and
is
using AI to put the back picture on.
that's screw that. But we've like, I think the only difference here is they're selling it, and that's what people have the issue with. It's like they're making money off of art, but you could look at any GW 40k release in the past 30 years, and there is a very good chance that that model has been inspired by something else.
Yeah.
And they're happily selling that. So, like, I don't know. I think it's a whole debate about not really a big issue. Like, this isn't really a huge deal. I don't think anyone's really losing out here.
That was it for me, and I think that's what a lot of the chat said. A lot of the Facebook thread said was, yeah, no, they've sculpted that based on a piece of art, but Games Workshop is never going to make that model. Games Workshop are not selling that art piece. So, and Ugni's not selling that. Like, it's just part of the bundle this month. It's not like my entire month's bundle is me making this STL out of this art piece that I'm then selling. It's just a case of like, oh, do you know what we could do for a cheerleader? I love that little set piece of art. Let's just represent that in a 3D setting and provide it as an add-on. Especially because I think this is one of the least egregious teams out there, because this is never, ever, ever going to impact. Well, not going to impact, but going to get in the way of what Games Workshop are doing with their gnomes, because the style, like Tripp said, is just so very much of its own design. No, it's interesting. I just wanted to get your vibe on that, because
I love a good ramble about morality.
I thought it was interesting. I thought, you know, it's probably, I should have mentioned it earlier, so you could have had a chat with the people at the door about this. And I think the last piece. Oh no, it's not the last piece. There's a couple more, which is wicked. Talking of this one finished as well. Grebo Games. Oh, they did finish actually. They did their gnome team, and I know you've had to paint a couple of Grebo teams, Ben, and to be fair, the Grebo sculpting is always wonderful.
Doing one at the moment.
Come on, zoom in some more. Can't zoom in anymore. That's sad. There you go. Zoom in some more. Grebo have done their gnomes, and the trees are the whole team smacks of Christmas for me, like in like a just incredible way. And I don't know if it's because they have Christmas trees on their team or because they genuinely have Christmas elf hats. Like they have got the droopy, swoopy, curly elf hats here, and they've gone hard. And I think some of the detail on these models is phenomenal. Like the illusionist there, there is 2 illusionists on the one base because he is just bamfing from one place to another, which is an awesome representation of how that rule works. But I have to say, I think this is well executed, but the hats for me really ruin the models on this one.
Really?
Yeah, they just look like dunce hats, and that just makes me sad. It just makes me sad. It looks like either dunce hats or we've got an airport somewhere with a whole bunch of flags missing. You know, the little cone flags that measure airspeed. They've just gone, and they're just on the heads of these little halfling people. Exquisitely performed, like beautifully sculpted.
I quite like these. These are proper like fairy tale gnomes for me.
Yes.
Like I really like them. It's one of my favorite Grebo teams actually. This one. Probably because they're not like completely over-engineered. Sometimes the trees are a little bit. Like the trees are like pushing it, and the illusionist maybe. But
the Beastmasters.
Oh my. Okay, so I hadn't seen the guy with the ducks and the bells.
that would just break me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll take that back.
I mean,
chickens.
It's just like it's insane production value, like insane. And this is going to be the most impactful team, I think, if well painted and completed on a table. This is genuinely going to look like a Christmas diorama. This is going to look like art, like actual straight up art. But I think that's probably why it's a little bit too hectic for me.
I think like honestly, no one sculpts like Grebo, and I think it's almost a crying shame that they seem to exclusively do Blood Bowl. Like, do they do other stuff?
Well, I think they might have been stretching out a little bit at some point. Maybe they were talking about it.
I want to see them do some big scale fantasy stuff because I think they could come out with some obscenely cool pieces for competitions.
They'd be there with Archvillain, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah, God yeah.
Making some outrageous stuff. Yeah, it's a cool team. Now they've done their Kickstarter, and I imagine that they'll be on general release quite quickly because they tend to be quite quick, Grebo, with their stuff. And I think this is F11, the last bit, which was just Realm of Paths are just quietly chugging along, producing some very good teams. I still think they peaked at their Tomb King one. I think that Tomb King team was it's just perfect. But they have dropped an Amazon team this month with a very heavy Greek theme. You got the Grecian, all of it. Sandals, skirts, helmets, just properly. The only thing missing from this picture is some bad stop animation skeletons wandering around, I think.
Oh, I think you're talking like... Okay, sorry. I thought you were doing a Zack Snyder thing with 300, but...
Yeah.
Oh,
like some slow-mo.
No, I was going even further back in time. Way further back in time. So far back, I can't remember what the film was called. Is it Jason and the Argonauts? Or was it the other one?
That. Oh, God. Okay, sorry. That is way more.
We're back.
There was 2 of those. The original Clash of the Titans. That's it, of course.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, I know that one.
Before they put Liam Neeson in it. Yeah, I think this is a really well done team as well. The cool thing about Amazons is you kind of gone from not really having any choice to being now pretty much spoiled for choice. Big fan of the Punga ones. Big fan of the STL Punga. Big fan of the real world IRL cast Punga ones. The Ugni Amazon team's excellent as well. And now Realm of Paths have dropped another version, which again I think is we are going to see, like, there must be thousands of different Blood Bowl teams now. They've done a really good job, I think, of differentiating the positionals by having the different kind of hats. You know, the bull hat, I assume, for the blocker. And I think they've done a really good job of this one. And I didn't want it to go completely unnoticed because actually this is a really good little team. And I'm really impressed with it. If the Punga one hadn't come out to the point where I'm like, yeah, that is the one, then this would probably be on the list. And this is the cool thing, Trips, because we've got access to all these STLs as a community. When it comes to building a mixed team, when it comes to building a Dungeon Bowl team, even if you've got an Amazon team, means you go get to pick more, right?
You just pick and choose. We saw it last year when we did the completely mixed teams, and it was like one miniature from like 6 or 7 different companies, and you can really build a theme or and a set of individuals through as a characters as a team. So that's the best thing with the STLs is that you can pick the models you want and put them with other models you want. So you don't have to have all of the same theme. Um, as Ben would say, as long as you put some decent color through them and base them all the same, that'll bring them all together, no matter what you do.
Tie them together with Angrax and brown paint. That's this Ben, not that Ben. That Ben paints properly. They've gone with the Medusa helmets for the throwers. See,
Yeah, that's cool.
that is just cool. And this is another team I think would just paint up in a couple of hours. Like you could get this team ready to go in not a lot of time. Which again I think is really, really, really cool. So that is it that I'm aware of the kind of top bits of Blood Bowl news that are kicking around at the moment. However, I think if you guys have got a couple more minutes, we can talk about the Bonehead Championship, which has gone live.
Yes.
So we've been brewing towards this for a while. In hindsight, I probably should have said, with the baby, I shouldn't do anything for a significant period of time, because yes, it has been challenging. So yeah, thank you for everyone with your patience, and I don't just mean the listeners, I mean you two as well, because it's kind of been a lot of it's been stop start, like yeah, we'll start in a couple of months, and then it's kind of like this is not even remotely going to happen in a couple of months, and then we kind of got it cooking. Trips helped with some tech, Ben helped with some spec, and actually we did a good month and a bit of test live streams to the point where actually, yeah, no, this is good. And I think we've had 2 games now. The first one we had a random camera outage, but I didn't think that actually impacted the second half of that game all that much. But our last stream, miraculously, we had no tech issues, no internet issues, no tech issues, and we've had 2 very good games now. So first one we had Blackhawks versus
Norse.
Yeah, Norse. That was it. Oh yes, Trips, Cuddles.
Yeah.
Cuddles, the big guy.
Cuddles by name, useless by nature.
yeah, exactly. And this week we had. Are they still there? Yeah, they're still there. There we go. Lizards and Vampires, which was a really good game as well. So I just wanted to kind of ask you two, because we've kind of gone from having casual, like YOLO, like let's test out gnome games, let's test out gnomes, let's do this, to a point where we've chucked you in a championship. We've made it timed with timer effects, and I just wonder if you're enjoying it.
Oh, this is the best thing that we do. Like this is like pretty much the reason that we're involved with the podcast. Like it's less like the Bonehead Podcast now. It's more just the Bonehead guys playing Blood Bowl, because it's really like, especially where the league hasn't kind of dropped, our local league dropped off.
Yeah,
this has now replaced that league Blood Bowl, and it's just so interesting to have all these different teams and produce the stories and the characters and interact with the viewers, which is really nice to be able to do on the stream now. It's just awesome. Like I love it. I'd never want to stop doing this.
Yeah, this is really. I mean, they're a lot of fun, these games, but it's less we're doing fun things and trying things out. There's a serious undertone to every dice roll now, and it's great to see the characters building in the teams already. I mean, we've had 2 games, 4 teams already. There's some characters that we were looking forward to their star player points journey, and some who frankly could go into the pit of doom, and there are lots of hats of shame in the last week as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that is just the thing for me, is how small a space of time it takes to build up, like both of you guys have said, the characters on the teams. And it's been awesome so far. The chat's been brilliant. Like, people have been watching and having a great time. But it's just so nice to, I'm gonna say, slow it down a bit. Like, I don't know if you guys feel this, but if you go to a league night and you've got, I mean, what Wobble, we had maybe pushing 30 at one point, coaches, but not everyone would come every week. And it would be a kind of like, you turn up, there's 6, 7, 8 games of Blood Bowl going on this week, and you turn up, you sit down, you play your game, you do your stuff on tour play, and then you leave. And you kind of like, even though that it's all going on, you really were the only person that was experiencing your team's story, unless there was a really, really big thing that happened. And we've had these 2 games now with 2 teams, and most of them, like 3 of those teams, the first time games, really. I think they've, well, yeah, first time on the channel for the Lizards, really. You know, the other teams we used against gnomes, to kind of, you know, because we had them painted and they were there to go. And the Black Orcs are obviously back. And it's just, that's something for me that I think is such a strength of Blood Bowl, that you need to slow it down and enjoy it as a kind of, as a group, to build that story. And this is where the sports role play bit comes in. But I think we've done a good job here of taking it and added some like, it's not an e-sport, not as much as Ben would, or like I would always love it to be in the future. It's not an e-sport, but there's that element, you know, I can't remember who said it, but in our chat, like, I was absolutely like, yay, they were like, this looks great, this looks like a proper esport now, well done guys. I was like, awesome, we've got that. But then we put the MVP voting up and everyone's like, oh no, it's got to be Cuddles, or it's got to be the Vampire Thrower because of the outrageous throw he made. And I was like, oh no, Yoshi did such a good job in this one. And we're already building up the names of these characters, and everyone's like, Grot Brady and Gronk, let's go. And it's been 2 weeks and we're already like, I cannot wait for round 2, because I want to see these teams come back. And that is just, it's just the most damn fun in the world. And
I hope that's also shown through us when people watch it. I hope people realize that we're having a lot of fun. Like, this is what we really enjoy doing. Like, even in our our little group chat that we have between us, it's always just like, we're talking about this a lot, of just like looking forward to the next Monday, because
it is like prepping for it and comparing what we've got and working through and bringing back flashbacks for old games and how we're going to play through the future. So yeah, these things really live with us as players, and it's been great playing them, and it is a really good atmosphere. And I think having the chat along it's upping that interaction as well, which has been really good. So we hope you're going through the roller coaster of emotions with us, with every roll, cheering or booing, depending on the outcomes.
Now, Ben and I are painting the teams ready for this coming week. I've got the OWA here being painted. Ben's got the Amazon team being painted. The members and the patrons have already picked all the names for these teams, and I think today we've got the Gnome team names being picked as well, and the Goblin team, which will be the last team for the championship this time around, will be, the names of those will be up for the supporters to start picking tomorrow as well. Round 1, I think, go really well. Once the teams are painted, we can do all the panning shots, and it will have everything ready to go. The pitch will be ready for round 2 as well. And I'm hoping what we can do is each round just level up a couple of other bits to make it even more immersive. But I'm just, it's just, Blood Bowl League is fantastic.
It is.
But a story shared is significantly better. And I think this is I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, thank you both very, very much. And I look forward to having you back here on Monday. And we're already talking about what to do after this season ends. Because there's a gap between when this one ends and when we want the next big thing to happen. So we can sneak in some more cool stuff. But yeah, just Bonehead Championship is brilliant. And like both of you said, it wouldn't be half as much fun if you all didn't get involved. So thank you for everybody who joins us in chat, with comments, with votes, everybody who supports us on Patreon or as a YouTube member or supports us through the shop or whatever. It's awesome, because it means we can build towards doing what we're doing now. We've got some stuff that we want to add, some stuff that we want to keep doing better. But you know, I really do want the extra PTZ camera there so we can get the over the shoulder shots as well. But that is a massive stretch goal, should we say? And that's definitely gonna happen at some point, but I don't know when. But yeah, so it's
Nice.
wicked. Right, I think we've covered all the Blood Bowl news. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we wrap up?
We should probably just touch on the digital news. For
Yes,
Blood
of
Bowl,
course. I
that this
can't
week-
believe I didn't pass
Cross-
it to you, our Blood Bowl 3 representative.
Crossplay has gone live in Blood Bowl 3, and well done to all the players who've tested it out, so much to the point that the servers struggled last night with the amount of Blood Bowl 3 players on. Whether that's truly the amount of players or that's the amount of servers available, I will leave you to pick your choice of that. But yes, crossplay is live. So particularly if you have been a console player desperately searching for someone else to play against, the entire PC community of Blood Bowl 3 is now there to roll dice with. So
Assuming that works, that's got to be a massive boon for anybody that's accidentally bought Blood Bowl 3 on Xbox Live.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's available on PlayStation Play or whatever the version is on of that. So if you've got it, just jump into it. We've set up a crossplay league in the Discord, and already lots of games of fun being had. So may many a digital game be played.
That is wicked. We are working towards having Blood Bowl 3 be pretty good, I think. I intend to sneak some games in over the next couple of weeks with Necro, just see what's happening. I was going to do it this morning, but then Trips was like, oh, everything broke. And I was like, well, do you know what? Probably not going to bother today. But BT, you've got the Fumble League going on as well, haven't you? Run by Milton.
Yeah. I had my round 1 with vampires, and it went as well as it did in the championship. And I've got my second game tonight at 11 p.m.
Oh, wow. Who are you playing?
Fohammer.
Oh, fantastic.
He's running. I can't remember what team he was running. Amazons.
Ooh.
And he had a rough few armor breaks and injuries in the first round, I think. So I think he's down a blocker, which is really good for me.
That's wonderful. Are you 2 throwers, 2 runners?
Yes, 2 throwers, 2 runners, and a blitzer.
Oh, fantastic.
3 rerolls.
Oh, less
which
fantastic.
I'm really regretting.
Yeah. I think
With 3 rerolls.
4 and 4 is a good place.
Yeah.
You need those cheering fans, as we learned on Monday. The more cheering fans you get, the better it will go.
Yeah, 7 rerolls across both teams gone by turn 2. That was impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have been a bit more economical and dropped the Apo, I think. I was just really afraid of losing the vampires. But...
Oh, it's a tough one.
Anyway.
Absolutely wicked. But no, it's so good. There's a ton of cool Blood Bowl going on, which is really, 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 really cool. And it feels like things are slowing down. We're starting to enjoy things again, which is, well, that just probably is just me. But for now, we're going to wrap up. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.